welcome to the Positive EV podcast. My name is Frax the Third, and today joining me is a old guest of ours, one of the moderators of the Discord, Outsourced. How you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's a little early for me, but
Yeah,
rise and grind, as they say.
yeah, the podcast is a little bit early this week, but that just tends to fit in our schedule a bit better, I think, for this week. So we're going to be doing this section in three parts. For those on YouTube wondering why the video's going to be roughly 20 minutes, we're going to be doing this in three sections. So we'll dive right into our first topic. So our first topic for today, everyone was always asking, what's going on with the market right now?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think everyone asks. Well, most people ask how the market's doing because I think most people here are interested in investing and how the overall economy is doing. I think the question that I always see is, it's not really a question. It's the market is going to crash. We are going to go into a depression. Buy your bullets, buy your guns.
Why
Make sure you have water
going
filters.
down? My case has dropped 3 cents. How? Why? What's going on?
Yeah, and I think from it's half of it is market forces, and then the other half is just understanding psychology. So I think kind of separating those two is a good spot to start. I know we only have 20 minutes, so going through the entire human psyche and how humans react to stresses probably isn't something we can cover in just 20 minutes, but
hey,
I think we probably get to get started on it.
Yeah, hey, well, we've actually got psychology will be part 3 where we can really touch on the touch on the psychology of investing. If it goes over, it goes over. Oh well.
Yeah.
20 minutes is just going to be a rough guide for these videos. So for yourself, my views on the market with the recent depression have been waiting for an update is number one. Number two, we've got half the player base from the peak. And we've just seen numbers starting to stabilize with the player base this last month. So we should hopefully not be on a downtrend for too much longer. What about you?
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I think it helps to be what's the word for it? Put things in perspective, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people here are new and they haven't really seen how the market responds or the fact that we have more people that play over the summer. The fact that outside factors do affect the game in kind of a seasonal trend. Especially people who started within the last year. I mean, Berlin was in 2019, right? So it's been over a year and a half now where we haven't had a major, which is always a huge driver of investment growth. And we've had a single operation, and there haven't really been the things that drive the player base to increase and get people interested and active in the in skins and things like that. And even just the one operation we had, and I think how many cases we had this year? 2.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Broken Fang and I had 3 actually, because we had Fractured, Broken Fang, and Snake Bite. But I guess we don't count the operation. Yeah.
Fracture seems like forever ago.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a new case, but yeah, I mean, it was this year. I think that's just 2021 dragging on, but
yeah.
I think the anecdote I always give people is that if your time horizon and the time that you've been invested has only been a year, everything that's short term seems like it's the end of the world because you don't have the experience of being able to go back and say like, oh yeah, after the 2015 cologne stickers came out, everyone thought that the major circuit was dead because everyone hated the Doritos and they thought that they looked terrible,
Yeah.
and that was going to be the end of investing, and Valve was going to print too many stickers, and everyone was going to overinvest. And by the way, for anyone who's listening, that is something that gets said every single major. Every single major, people come out and say, look at how many people are buying stickers, guys. It's over. Too many are being bought. The supply's too high. It's literally without fail. It's every single major. I mean, if you just go to the subreddit, or don't go to the subreddit, well, go to the subreddit, but don't go to Reddit to use its search feature. Go to some website that does a search feature of Reddit and just type in stickers over invested, and you will see without fail that every single major someone, the
It's
overall consensus is there's too many people
Atlanta
who are buying.
2017 was overinvested. Look at it
Yeah,
now.
no,
Krakow's
yeah,
overinvested.
yeah.
And notice Sonny's just pointed out, everyone's saying that about RMR right now, is that it's overinvested. Like,
Like it very well could be. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it helps to have that longer term perspective where you realize that like nothing crazy is happening right now.
Yeah.
The game's still growing, right? If anything, people are more, a player now is worth far more than it was in 2015 or 2016 because the marketplace has been around. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's right. I also find that because the marketplace has been around a lot longer and that microtransactions have creeped into every facet of people's lives, that it's more normal now to just spend a couple of dollars on some skins.
Yeah, and I think it helps that Valve have, and it's easy to criticize them, but Valve have done a very good job at making sure that skins hold value, right? Like they could come out tomorrow and do what I don't know, like what Rust does, and just start re-releasing stuff in the store that people can purchase themselves. Like there's a whole bunch of old Rust items, like I think if you look at the fireworks pack, is the one that I always laugh about because people bought them, invested in them, and then they just got absolutely crapped on. They got big doo doo on their face from the Rust devs just being like, nah, these are too expensive. We're just gonna re-release them.
Oh man.
Or the old meme, which is that in PUBG where trading between players is temporarily disabled. It's been temporary for the last like 5 years, right? So there are a lot of things that Valve could do that could really mess up.
There's lots of things
really
that they could do, but I think because CS:GO is their baby, they don't really want to like destroy the market entirely. They won't.
Yeah, and I think
they'll take measures to protect their market, but they're not going to take measures to obliterate it.
right. I think that's a solid way to look at it. And the other way that I look at it is if you're looking at the period between when CS:GO was when we had the Prime update and you had bots and you had all these people who didn't have to pay anything to make an account.
Yep.
I think a player then is worth far less than a player now.
I agree.
And I realize matchmaking is still incredibly toxic, and most people probably are quitting the game after having to deal with cheaters in 3 games in a row. If there's anything that's going to hurt the market, it's not going to be anything that Valve does. I think it's going to be their inaction on that end. But again, what I'm saying right now is also another meme where if you go onto any of the CS:GO subreddits and just type in cheaters are ruining the game, you can find
daily
threads. It's literally a daily thing.
Yeah. And everyone comes back for more every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know. I mean, look, there's a limited supply on a lot of these things, especially the older stickers. I don't think are going anywhere. You can make the argument for RMR being overinvested. You can make the argument that there's not many good investments moving forward because you have so many investors as a percentage of the overall group of players.
Yep.
Just from experience, I can say we have been saying that in the subreddit, and we've been saying that in in Global Offensive Trade for literally since CS:GO Lounge was a thing, and people were, like it's just when you have a longer term, like if you
similar to stocks, everyone says that it's overinvested. It's a bubble. It's gonna pop. All right, cool. Look at the last 100 years. Has that bubble popped? No.
Yeah, and it also helps to kind of reevaluate how it is that you're pricing things, because if all you're doing is you're saying, oh well, the price of this case was 5 cents last year and it's 15 cents now and it's tripled in price, I shouldn't invest in it. It also helps to be like, well, how much should it be increasing every year? And that's something that I always tell people in the stock market, not to get off track, but I always tell people in the stock market, the average return that the stock market is going to give you is 6%. So if the stock market returns less than 6%, even if it's still positive, you did worse than
Yeah.
what you should expect from getting that return, right? But assuming everything's normal and assuming the stock market continues to just be normal, you should expect for every dollar you put in, on average, the mean return is like 6.5, 7%, at
Yeah.
least for U.S. equities. So like, do the same thing with CS:GO investing, assuming the market doesn't change at all, and assuming that the game remains stable and the same player count and all of that. Like, stickers are still being used,
Yeah.
right? People are still getting banned, making new accounts. People are still leaving. People are still joining. Like, you still have that rarity cycle that's continuing to increase.
Yep.
So the one that I would say is, if you look at investments, it's usually like about 25 to 50% a year, which is insane, even for collectibles. Like, it's obviously
Absolutely.
it's an alternative investment. Yeah.
CSGO seems to be like this little gem where the returns. I think the risk is inherently higher, but the returns have been something that you can't really match effectively pretty well anywhere else for such a consistent period of time. Like, crypto sure
Yeah.
has had some massive big spikes and falls, but it's not had the consistency that Counter Strike has had.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I was, I could pull out the math, but it doesn't really work in a podcast format. But suffice to say, if you look at what previous returns were and what current returns are now in CS:GO scene, I think it's a sign of market maturity when you start to see returns go down, which is what we've seen consistently year over year in CS:GO investing.
Yeah.
And when you look at like major themes and things like that, like, if you're invested from 2014 to 2015, you were making 300, 400, 500%, 500% on your investments, like, regardless of what you
More.
were investing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was insane, right? And obviously it changes per asset class. Like, cases have just exploded over the last 2 years. And I
Yeah.
think, having Growling Bear in here and having him be a great model makes people realize, like, well, oh, everyone was doing that we've always been investing in cases, and I can tell you that was not a thing. No one short of no one in 2014, 2015, or 2016, at least as far as I'm aware, were like, let me go buy 10,000 Vanguard cases because I want to
Ten
invest in
thousand
them. It
Bravo
was just
cases.
Yeah, like,
Like,
no one was doing that. It wasn't something that, like, people had thought of, and you were seeing this, like, new discovery of investors who were coming in and investing in this asset class, and
yeah.
that they were being handsomely rewarded for it. They were making 500% on their money, 600% on their money. And I think you're seeing now, not to say that the returns aren't still amazing, but you're seeing the market mature, and you're seeing more people get invested. And, like, in anything, the amount of alpha that a market has declines proportionally with the amount of people that are in there, because there's more information going around. We're doing a better job of making sure that people are, informed and making smart decisions, and that naturally leads returns to go down.
Yeah.
So my point would be, if you see returns go from 25 to 50% to 20 to 25%, that's a good thing for the health, not for us, because obviously we want the returns to be as
We
good
want
as
the
possible.
money.
Yeah, but that actually,
It means we've got
it
better
doesn't.
sustainability throughout the market.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean that the game's dying. It actually means that the market's getting even more mature, and you're seeing even more money into it, because you're not seeing these huge, crazy, volatile spikes. And,
You,
like Sunny say, crypto being incredibly volatile, and everyone being like, "Oh, that's great." Like, to me, it means that the market hasn't sufficiently matured to the point that its returns are starting to match what a similar asset would
yeah,
have.
I'd agree with that. So that sort of rolls on into just the note I had about future expectations. So as more people come along and more people invest, more people spend their time looking at this market, trying to find the good deals, trying to find something to invest in, the returns are going to become more normalized. They're still, I would expect that a collectible will still end up being higher than a traditional stock, just because risk factors, etc. But we'll still depreciate to that 20-25% gain regularly, and that's absolutely a-okay for me. Future expectation, what are your expectations going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a boomer, but I think when you've been around, let me just crack open my can of Monster and start preaching to the kids. When you've been around long enough and you've kind of seen how the CS:GO market has developed, I don't know. It's going to continue to do exactly what it's been doing. I think we're going to see some changes. I remember everyone thought that the game was dead back when VAC was very bad. If you think VAC is bad now in 2013, 2014, 2015, it was almost worthless. People said the game was going to die then.
But
We had the yeah,
that's with
we
a lot
had
of
the
games.
seven yeah, we had the CS:GO Lounge getting banned and all the bots getting banned and gambling getting banned. Everyone thought that that was going to kill the game. The 7-day trade hold, everyone was saying that was going to kill skin investing, and it actually did. I think it's pretty easy to point out on a chart where it happened. It's that tiny little dip, like
Yep.
500% ago on most items, where everyone was panic selling. And yeah, I mean, two-factor Steam Guard, everyone was freaking out when that got added, and they said, "Oh, it's gonna make what do you mean I have to activate on my phone, and if I don't have it activated, then I can't trade for 15 days. I'm gonna sell all my items and get out of here." It just comes down to ignoring, and I know that's hard for people who haven't been invested for a very long time, but a lot of it is just ignoring whatever the current story is and realizing that everything that people are complaining about are things that they've complained about in the past. They still complain about it, which means that they're still playing.
Yes,
You know, like
absolutely.
like things have happened that have changed the market. If you're uncomfortable with that, recognize that now, and really, if you feel uncomfortable about being invested in something like this, or you think you might be uncomfortable having a huge news story break that might affect the scene, I would honestly, again, go back to subreddit, go back to some of the subreddits and just read through what people were saying in 2015, 2016, 2017 when Steam Guard got added.
2018 even.
Yeah, CS:GO
2019.
Lounge got banned. If you think about where the market was in 2016 to 2018, the vast majority of what CS:GO skins were gambling, and I'm going to say that up front because that's what they were being used for.
Yep.
People weren't using it to flex. I mean, people were, but it really wasn't anywhere near what it is now. Yeah, I mean, people were just using it for a way to gamble, and I think that when uh, I Buy Power kind of did their thing, and that happened, and
Oh man,
um, that
that was a story.
people no people really thought that skins were going to be there was a legitimate concern that skins were going to be account locked,
Yep.
not even not marketable, just account locked. And even for the youngins, there wasn't a Steam market for years. It was all just person to person trading. You couldn't just go to the Steam market and be like, oh, what is this item worth? Because there wasn't a Steam market.
Yep.
For CS:GO, I think for CS:GO, it was always part of this Steam community market. But there were games, TF2 comes to mind, that it just didn't exist, right? So there's a lot of terrible things that can happen. And my advice to people, if you're concerned about those terrible things happening, is go look at the subreddit and read through some of those old threads and kind of try to do that with an open mind and think, would this cause me to sell? Because if the answer is yes, I would, um, you know, either don't invest or invest in something that's incredibly passive. Don't be slinging don't be slinging whatever the new skin is. Try to buy something that's old and safe and just invest in it and forget about it.
Yeah.
Or don't invest at all. Don't put yourself in a position where the stress from all these crazy things that Valve's going to happen that are going to affect the community are going to lead you to make a bad decision.
Yeah, that's an important point. Is to not. It's okay to not invest for a time if you don't know. If you're not comfortable with your money being somewhere, don't put it there.
Agreed.
Um, well, that actually brings us to our first 20-minute mark. Wow. Guys, we'll just take a short break. YouTube, I'll be back in just a moment. We're going to move on to part 2 of our podcast today. So we're going to be moving in towards the stock part of the podcast. Thank you guys for coming and tuning into this first section. We'll be back in a moment.